Thank you for being here today.
Well, any fan of Halloween is a friend of mine.
Well, and that's actually going to be my first question is I always like to get to know people through Halloween itself. We are Halloween Daily News and where it's Halloween every day here. So, and this is a great Halloween movie. So I just wanted to ask you, what does Halloween, the holiday, mean to you? And is it something you look forward to celebrating? Do you tend to go big or kind of lay low during the holiday?
Listen, Halloween has always been one of my favorite holidays ever since I can remember. In fact, I've always made monster costumes when I was growing up, and my mom would help me. And some of them, in fact, we still have in a box, these homemade monster costumes. So it's been, and then it became part of my family tradition where we would make from scratch very elaborate Halloween costumes for my son. My wife and I would all do it. So it's the, the time of year where you get to put on another version of yourself, and it's very special.
Do you have a favorite Halloween candy or in a favorite Halloween costume from your past?
My Halloween costume that my favorite was a Cyclops monster that I
Nice.
made as a kid, and it's amazing that I still have it, and I should frame it. And that was very got to scare a lot of people in the neighborhood with it.
Very cool. Um, with the new Under Wraps, this is of course a remake of the original Under Wraps, which was the very first Disney Channel original movie, and kind of set a precedent for a lot of things to come in the days way before streaming or any of that. Um, why do you think now is the right time to reintroduce this story to a whole new generation?
It's a great question, Matt. Look, I think Halloween is a perennial, and there hasn't been. Look, I love the original, loved it. And so it's a real honor to get to make the new one and to introduce it to a new generation. I think introducing classics to a new generation through a remake is this very special way. It means that the original can sit side by the remake, and you can enjoy both. But I do think that there's been a tradition of monster movies where the monster is something to be feared and destroyed. And I think it's a rare entity to have a monster who is beloved or starts off as feared and becomes beloved. And I think that that's actually an important feeling for today, which is we need a more inclusive, more open-minded world. And so if people get to experience through one mummy at a time, the things we are trepidatious about are actually really pretty special and not to be feared. That's a good message for now.
I love, like I said, I watched the movie. I really enjoyed it, and
Thank
I love that Amy and Marshall especially are big horror fans. And there's some fun kind of horror references throughout that I, being a big horror fan, of course, really enjoyed. Can you talk a little bit about working some of those references in? I saw some nods to Friday the 13th and obviously Halloween and some stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
it's always a challenge when you do these movies where you want to put every monster movie, every horror movie that you've loved in the background, but there's always licensing issues. So you have to
Sure.
be cautious on this. So we ended up making up a lot of stuff that was clearable, but it was really fun to have Marshall be a character who not only loved movies, but was able to make them. I'm a great believer that kids don't need to be consumers. None of us need to be consumers. We can make anything we want to do. So they make their own monster movie in the garage. And in Marshall's room are all these models and things that he's built and painted from scratch. So I think that that's really cool. And then having Wardhead was one of my favorite characters. He's like somewhere between Sloth from Goonies meets Big Daddy Roth monsters.
Hmm.
And so we wanted to have this over the top monster who was a little scary and a little goofy at the same time. And that was a really fun line to toe. But that was one of my favorite creations was working with the team to make a monster like Wardhead.
Yeah, very cool. And I definitely appreciated those nods too. So you spoke a little bit about it, but at the end of the day, what are you hoping that people, families that watch this are going to take away from this film?
I hope that when families watch the movie that they both have a multi-generational experience of getting to enjoy it together. I hope the kids get a little spine tingling moments, but don't but we made it so it's spooky but not scary, so they don't end up back in their parents' bed. But my hope, honestly, is that people come away with a sense of the importance of new perspectives, that monsters or things that we think are different are probably, if we open our minds and hearts, maybe they're to be our friends, not to be feared. Also, that, you know, it happens for all the characters. Amy comes to see a new town in a new light. Marshall comes to see his mom's boyfriend as potential family, not as an enemy. And Gilbert comes to see that facing your fears is better, makes us better people than not facing them. So I think the whole theme of new perspectives is pervasive throughout it, but I hope people have honestly just have a great time, love Harold, want to dance like him, and see mummies and monsters in a slightly new light.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for talking to us today. I think people are really going to enjoy the film.
Listen, thanks so much. And any friend of Halloween's a friend of mine. So thank you so much.